Okay. Okay, I'm going to take my camera off too. And
Can hear us.
There you go. Hey, Dan S., we'll take our cameras off.
all right, let me see this chat here.
Good morning.
Hey, Patty. Good morning.
Good morning, Patty.
Hi, we just wrapped up the earlier meeting, which was fine and well received, so.
Good morning, all. The town hall will start momentarily. Please take a moment to review the slideshow on the screen for important instructions and IT support information. Thank you.
Hey Dan, how you doing?
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our second virtual town hall. Here is our director, Mr. Hugh Halpern.
Hugh, you're muted. Just 1 second, everyone. We're experiencing some technical difficulties.
All right. Do we have audio now?
Yep, we're good to go.
Okay. Apologies for that. Thanks so much, everyone. I'm glad to be with you today. I'm actually sorry that we're doing this virtually again, but the situation changed quickly enough from when we started planning this town hall to now that if we were to pivot to a in-person format, we would have had to delay this by probably a month or longer. And I really thought it was more important that I get the opportunity to talk with you all now than delay this. So we're going forward in this format. I apologize for the technical difficulties on the front end. But that said, I really look forward to seeing a lot more of you guys in person in the weeks and months ahead. All right, first of all, a huge thank you to everyone. This is our second virtual town hall, but we have made great strides since the last one. And none of that progress would have been possible without all of you, our teammates. One of our huge accomplishments over the last year is GPO's addition to Forbes' list of America's best mid-size employers. It is a huge achievement. It says a lot about where we are and your commitment to GPO. We really would not have gotten this honor without everyone's hard work. So thanks to everyone again for all that you do. So last time we met this way, we spent a lot of time talking about where we were in the pandemic. Today, I want to talk more about where we're going in the future. First, I'm going to discuss our initial results from our next strategic planning process. Next, I'm going to talk about where we are on the pandemic and really focus on the near term. Third, I'm really excited to talk about some changes we're making to the building and asking you for your help as we move forward. Lastly, I want to spend as much time as we can answering the submitted questions. If you have a question as things go along, please submit that through the chat, and I'll do my best to answer as many as we've got time for. All right, so on Friday, GPO starts its 161st year. This is also the last year of our current strategic plan. Our current strategy was really focused on GPO's transformation from a provider of printed materials to a digital content delivery service, largely in response to the NAPA survey back around 2012, 2013. Similarly, our mission, vision, values, they really haven't changed substantially in a really long time. Now, we have these posters in the elevator describing them, and I'm willing to bet if we just ran into each other in the hallway, even though we see them all the time, I bet you'd have a lot of trouble telling me what they said. I know I do. So with that, I asked the executive team to work with me to craft a new strategic plan along with an improved mission, vision, and value statements. Our intention was to create a plan that recognizes GPO's digital presence and ensures that we continue to grow in ways that serve customers and welcome future customers to the fold. I plan to release this draft strategic plan for public comment before the end of March. Then we'll finalize the plan over the summer, and we'll be able to start implementing it in the new fiscal year. So our current mission, keeping America informed, according to current business definitions, that's really more of a vision statement than a mission statement. Similarly, our current vision is more of a mission. So we really updated our mission statement both to reflect what it is that we do and the more modern, traditional business parlance. And our new mission statement does focus on exactly what it is we do. We publish trusted information and we get that to the American people. It's simple and it talks exactly about what it is all of us do every single day. Similarly, our new vision harkens back to our historic mission statement with two simple key words and talks about what we want to accomplish. We want an America informed. Again, we're focusing on things that are simple and easy to remember, and we should all talk about them a lot. When it comes to our core values, I also really wanted to focus on simplicity. We previously had 6 separate values. We boiled that down to about 4. And these should all be familiar to everybody who has heard me talk over the last couple of years. Honesty. We need to have trust in our teammates when talking to each other and to our customers. We also need to demonstrate trust by listening to what other people are saying. Kindness. Respect is really the cornerstone of performance. Effectiveness. We are nothing if we can't get things done. We have to continue all of the behaviors that allow us to deliver for our customers and for each other. And lastly, inclusiveness. Being inclusive means more than just having a diverse workforce, which GPO does. It means supporting each other at every turn and welcoming our customers and our coworkers as they are. All right. So when we built out this draft strategy, we built it around 4 operational imperatives. First is we have to achieve operational excellence. That means we have to keep doing the things we've been doing to deliver quality products to our customers under tight deadlines. As part of that, we're going to have to do things like prioritize our customer relationships, right-size our workplace footprint, and really take into account things like telework and remote work as we go forward. Automate for efficiencies, figure out where those places are, where we can have a machine do things so we can free up our people to focus on the harder things that we all need to do. And we need to promote synergies across business units. It's too easy to sort of get siloed in SID or customer service or plant. And when we really need to build those relationships and those opportunities across the entire organization. Innovation has been a cornerstone of GPO's history, and our future really depends on continuing those efforts to modernize. So this is a lot of our focus is going to be is centered around this imperative. And this is going to include things like developing and leveraging powerful software solutions like Publish or XPub, providing the world's most trusted and secure credentialing products and services, ensuring that we always have new content available through GovInfo or any of our other outlets, transitioning our processes from paper to electronic to ensure that we're efficient. And again, our people can focus on the really important stuff that we need them to do. This is something that we discovered through the pandemic. We may need to expand our in-house services to fill gaps and serve our customers when the private market can't. And lastly, expand our digital content offerings and continue our important work of preserving historic collections in new media so that new generations can enjoy those works. In order for GPO to continue to do all of these things, we have to ensure that we can sustain ourselves. Unlike most other agencies, GPO eats what it kills. So we are responsible for bringing in the revenue that supports the entire agency. To do that, we need to look at exploring an expansion of our products and services, enhancing our marketing. Our customers can't buy things that they don't know that we do. We need to cross-sell so that we're ensuring our customers are GPO customers and not just SID or plant or customer services customers. And again, we need to take a good look at our legacy practices and figure out what works and what doesn't. And for those things that don't, we need to sunset them and focus on the things that do work. Because just because we've done something that way for a long time doesn't mean we always have to do it that way. Lastly, none of our plans can be successful without a first-rate team dedicated to executing those plans. Over the next 5 years, we need to make sure that we can recruit, develop, and retain the absolute best talent we can find. Make sure we're doing succession planning so that we're developing our next generation of leaders. And making sure that we've got a robust system of knowledge management so our institutional knowledge doesn't walk out the door when our teammates retire or leave. So that's an overview of the plan. The draft plan itself will be online before the end of March, and everybody is welcome to take a look at it. And as I said, we'll be soliciting comments from our stakeholders as well on what that plan looks like before it gets to its final form. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit. First of all, thanks to everyone for everything you've done to make sure that GPO continued its record of performance during the pandemic. We really wouldn't have been able to deliver without all of you. You all know that the CDC recently changed the way it monitors the impact of COVID on our nation. Because of this change, the CDC no longer recommends masking indoors for about 70% of the country. We've discussed the impact of this change at the executive level and with our medical team, and we've decided to change our policy to reflect the CDC's guidance. That's also keeping in with the recommendations of the administration's Safer Federal Workforce Task Force and the changes we're seeing on the Hill. So what does that mean for GPO? First, starting with shift 1 on Monday, teammates working at locations in areas with low or medium CDC community level, those are the green and yellow areas on the map, will not be required to wear masks in our facilities. So by our calculation, Pueblo is the only major facility that is not currently in a green or yellow area. With that said, if you want to continue masking, you are more than welcome. It is a decision for you to make. Now, here's what I'm going to ask. Exiting the pandemic and getting back to normal is going to require a lot of grace on all of our parts. So if somebody wants to continue masking, that shouldn't matter to those of you who don't. Similarly, if someone decides that they're comfortable not masking, please don't view it as an insult if you feel differently. We all have to listen to each other and treat each other with respect. Our other element is getting back to work. If you remember, under our GPO Safe plan, step 3 was intended to be our new operating posture. We soft launched step 3 in the fall, but never really fully got there. Today, I'm announcing our intention to fully reach step 3 by May 2nd, 2022. I know that this is a big transition, which is why we're announcing a really long runway to get there. When we reach May, I expect our teleworking teammates to follow their telework agreements in full, including coming to our offices if your telework agreement requires that you come to the office. Because of the nature of our work, over 1,000 of our teammates come to work in our buildings every single day. I look forward to seeing many more of you face-to-face in the coming weeks and months. Meeting face-to-face helps us collaborate, helps us meet with customers, and helps us develop the kind of relationships that improve our performance and lead to our success. Again, if you've got a telework agreement that's 100% telework, you're going to continue working to that agreement. But that's ultimately an agreement between you and your supervisor. If there are issues of concern, please reach out to your supervisors and managers. We want to figure out a way that works for everyone. On another topic, we all know that there are areas in our building that are getting a little long in the tooth. Nowhere is that truer than the 8th floor of Building A. Now, we've all seen pictures of modern spaces that are comfortable and foster creativity and collaboration. Now, the site of our former cafeteria is really far from that. I'm pleased to announce that last night, Congress approved our plans to begin a renovation of this space into something modern and worthy of our great team. As part of this renovation, our GPO credit union will be moving to the first floor to occupy the space of our former bookstore. This will be a great change for the credit union, its customers, and GPO. It will be far more accessible than it is now. We're also going to change the entire footprint of the 8th floor with a bright, modern break area and, yes, some new food options. We're not going to be able to support the same kind of service we used to have with the cafeteria, but we're actively looking for fresher options for food. We're also going to have a new conference and collaboration space, along with some hoteling space for our teleworking colleagues for when they come into the building. This is all going to be developed in phases, and we're at the very beginning right now. Our first priority is really going to be this break area and lounge. I'd ask everyone to be on the lookout for a survey from facilities that will help us understand your priorities for this space and hear your ideas for options on how we develop this going forward. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I'm going to start by answering some of the questions that were submitted ahead of time, but if you have another question, please put it in the chat. Even if we don't have time to get to it today, if it's covering some new ground, we'll try and get that, get a response in an edition of headlines. So thank you. Thanks to everyone. I really appreciate it. And with that, I think it's time to start answering some questions.
Well, thank you, Hugh, and good morning. Before we get to the questions, we would like to share a comment from one of our teammates that they requested that we convey to you. Comment is, kudos to Hugh for bringing GPO through a very trying 2 years and being a strong leader for this agency and being in consistent contact with the employees and keeping us abreast of the events on the Hill and GPO. Thank you, Hugh.
Well, thank you. Thanks for that that very nice comment. I very much appreciate it, but I've always viewed communication as something I, as a leader, owe to everybody that I work with. So thank you so much for that.
Hugh, we received a lot of telework questions and remote work questions, but they can be summarized in just a few. So the first question is, if a teammate is 100% teleworking now, will they be able to continue 100% telework as we move to GPO Safe Step 3?
So the short answer is, if you are working to your telework agreement, then the answer is yes. When we get to GPO Step 3, the goal is to be working to your telework agreement. So if your telework agreement is you are 100% telework or your remote work, that's going to continue. I don't expect that to change. If you have a telework agreement that says you got to come in 1 day or 2 days a pay period or every so often, then we're going to expect you to work to that agreement, because that agreement was between you and your supervisor or manager, and it was based on the business needs of GPO. And we've seen great things out of telework here at GPO. I have no intention of rolling anything back, but there are going to be instances where face-to-face communication is really going to be necessary. Maybe you're going to have collaboration days with your team. Maybe you're going to have meetings with customers, but those are things that might work better face-to-face. So I appreciate the question. Hopefully for most folks, come May 2nd, you're not going to notice much of a change. But for others, that may mean you're coming in, a couple of days a month, where you might not have been doing that to this point. And all in all, I think I think we're going to be really well situated, and we'll obviously evaluate things as as we go along. Our first priority is making sure we're getting our work done and we're delivering on the quality that we're known for. So I don't expect huge changes here.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is, can a manager reverse my telework or remote work agreement and require me to come into the office?
So again, I don't expect that to happen. Once we get fully into step 3, my expectation is going to be that those telework agreements are going to remain the same, because in the vast majority of cases, we've seen folks do very, very well on telework. It has accrued to the agency's benefit. But again, if we decide down the road that the business needs of GPO require some time in the office for a variety of things, we're going to have to take a look at that. This ultimately depends on GPO's business needs. And we think that telework is a success for the organization. I don't expect huge changes here. And my expectation of our managers and supervisors is that we're not making changes to these telework agreements unless there is a really compelling need for us to do that going forward. But like I said, I think in the vast majority of cases, you're going to see absolutely no difference on May 3rd from where you are right now.
Thank you, Hugh. I also want to mention that we had some questions about who is the GPO's telework coordinator. That person is Terry Leeds, and she can be contacted at gpotelework@gpo.gov. That's a new email that we established in order to prevent confusion with that going to HC policy. So we really appreciate it if you start using that new email address with any new questions or agreements, telework agreements. We also had several questions regarding COVID procedures. And what we'd like to do is just remind everyone that our medical team is available 24/7 to answer any questions about COVID or our COVID protocol or procedures. And you can reach them by calling the GPO's telehealth line at 202-512-2061. And that's published on the intranet right there on the front page. Hugh, our next question, we had several questions about the mask mandate, which you just announced GPO will be following CDC guidelines on masking options. But here's some additional questions. The first question is, will employees that have a waiver to not have the vaccine still be required to wear a mask at GPO, even in the green zones?
So again, we're deferring to the CDC guidance on this. That's our advice from GPO Medical, and that's what we're following. So the CDC guidance, as I understand it, is that if you're in a green or yellow zone, you do not need to mask regardless of your vaccination status. So it is when you get into those orange zones that is more of a problem. But I don't expect that to change.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is, will visitors still be required to certify that they are vaccinated prior to entering a GPO premises?
The short answer, again, is no. With the new CDC guidance, that requirement is no longer necessary. So we will be dispensing with that requirement shift 1 on Monday as well.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is, will unvaccinated employees need to get tested each week prior to coming to work?
Again, I believe in areas where we're in sort of green or yellow, low to medium CDC community level, testing will not be required under the CDC protocols.
Hugh, our next question is on the search for the new Superintendent of Documents, SUDOCs. What are your priorities for this position?
Thanks for that question. The search for SUDOCs is the superintendent of documents is kind of a unique position. It's really our public-facing position dealing with our FDLP and frankly the broader library community. We're going to be searching for someone with roots in that community, who's a great communicator, as well as somebody who's got a good head for where we need to go in our relationship with that community. Just so everybody knows, we are contracting with an executive search and recruiting firm to help us find the right kind of candidates for this role. And I hope by the end of the year we'll be able to announce who the new person is for that particular role. But I'm looking forward to finding somebody who does just as well, if not better than Lori, which is going to be a really high mark to meet. And frankly, I should have said this at the outset. I really want to give Lori a huge thanks for all of the work that she's done as both the head of LSCM and SUDOCs. She's done a tremendous job. She's done a tremendous 2 jobs, actually. And this is all part of helping her get back to just doing a single job. So I'm really excited about what this process is going to look like. And hopefully we'll have some more announcements about that as things go along.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is, can you give us an update on the XPub initiative?
Sure. As everybody knows, XPub is our replacement for the micro composition engine. And frankly, XPub is really going to be the backbone of a lot of our operations for the foreseeable future. And I'm really excited about its potential. We've seen great work come out of our plant teams working with Congress on a couple of sort of one-off reports. We got one from the Modernization Committee in the House, another from the House Administration Committee, and the great work that we were able to do with the last full edition of the U.S. Code. So the key thing to keep in mind is XPub is really an integral part of how our customers produce documents. So as I like to say, GPO kind of owns the process when they hit Control P on their computer to go print. So in the past, Microcomp would take over that process. We are currently working with our customers on the Hill to roll out XPub as part of their drafting and composition process. And to be 100% honest, that process has been a little bit more challenging than we expected, and we had to push out the rollout date till everybody felt comfortable. But we hope by the end of the year to have that fully rolled out and really continue with XPub well into the future. We're going to start seeing it work into other areas of the plant, whether that's the Congressional Record or Federal Register, but that's all going to happen over a period of years. But XPub really represents a huge step forward for the agency, for the products we deliver, and for what our customers are getting. And I'm really excited for what the future holds.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is GPO considering using electric vans for any of its fleets?
So the short answer is yes. We're looking at a lot of different options. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that the market for any vehicle at the moment is really, really tight. And that's doubly true for any vehicle that has an electronic or an electric assisted drivetrain. So I think it's safe to say in our next iteration, we're probably looking at a fleet made up largely of hybrid vehicles. I drive a hybrid. I've driven one since probably 2007, and they're great, stable cars. And I think that's a good way to transition into a cleaner fleet. And probably by the next time we're ready to do a fleet refresh, excuse me, there are going to be a lot more electric options out there.
Thank you, Hugh. Our next question comes from production. Are there any plans to replace or update the probe clocks?
So the short answer is yes. The probe clocks are part of our current billing system, and that is being replaced. So I think you're going to see some discussions between our plant management and our frontline folks over the next year or so. As we're working on replacing the back end of that accounting system, you're going to see conversations where we talk with folks about the best way to have folks who are working on the line interact with that system. So again, I think it's a new way. It's something that we're modernizing, frankly, because we have to. But I think that presents us with some opportunities to figure out better ways to work for all of us. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
Thank you, Hugh. The next couple of questions came in was human capital, and I'm going to go ahead and answer those real quick. The first one is, thank you, Hugh. The first one is about the verification of employment status when requesting a mortgage or a loan. GPO has been working with the National Finance Center, NFC, to connect GPO to Expedia's employment verification service. This allows banks to automatically go into a database that Expedia runs and verify your employment verification. We anticipate this connection will be established within the next month. In the meantime, you can have your financial institutions call Lavette Wallace. She's a great point of contact. Her email is lwallace@gpo.gov, or they can call 202-805-9025. And we'll make sure that we publish that information as well. The next question is about the government retirement and benefit application. So the government retirement benefit application allows you to go in and do your retirement estimates, look at your health insurance, your life insurance, and it was fielded, but it still has another phase to be fielded. There's some of the platforms that are not working yet, and that's because we're trying to build a data feed bridge to merge our information at NFC with the GRB. We hope to resolve this issue very soon. Hugh, our next set of questions is, as we vacate office spaces in the regions, how will rental cost and associated funds be redistributed in the GPO budget?
So let me give a little bit of background to folks about what's going on here. So as we moved into telework and we saw the huge benefits that provided, excuse me, it gave us an opportunity to look at one of the ways we do things. And as you all know, we've got a number of regional offices all across the country. And we looked at our Chicago regional office because the lease was coming up on that office space. And we're trying to decide in an office where almost everybody was 100% telework, did it really make sense to keep that office space? And so we worked with Congress, and we're in the middle of, or at the beginning of a 6-month trial where we closed our traditional office space, and we're partnering with WeWork in the Chicago area to provide co-working space for all of our associates there and our teammates in Chicago. And if this pilot program works, it's got and we expect it will, it's got the potential to have some real savings. For Chicago alone, that could wind up being a savings of nearly $200,000 a year, which is a really impressive number. Now, with that said, it's not like, because GPO is not an appropriated entity, we are subject to the same market forces as everybody else. So, almost everybody in the agency got a raise this year. You got a cost of living adjustment. You're probably going to get a larger cost of living adjustment next year, depending on how the formula gets calculated. Those are expenses. And normally we would have those expenses and we would have to hunt for savings elsewhere in the budget to offset those expenses, or we have to raise our prices. So while we're getting savings from doing innovative things, like the experiment we're trying in Chicago, we're taking those savings and we're trying to use those to offset increasing expenses, so we don't have to raise prices and in a way that might force our customers to go elsewhere. So, it's a really delicate balance. I don't think we look at it as each individual, where we reallocate funds from each individual change. It's more, how can we operate more efficiently? How can we keep down overhead costs? And how does that let us fund our priorities here at GPO, whether that's development of XPub or that's building out new space in our headquarters building so that you've got better break space or hoteling space or collaboration space. How do we use those savings in a way that keep costs down and let us do our job? So I don't know that it's quite that calculation, but every place we can reduce costs helps us as an organization.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is a two-part question, and it's about the general status of the printing industry. So the first part is, with all the volatile change in the printing industry, from paper availability to contractor shrinking and the industry as a whole not being as robust as it once was, how do you see GPO being relevant in the next 10 to 20 years?
So that's one of the things we spend a lot of time thinking about. And as we were developing our next strategic plan, that was very much at the front of our minds as we thought about what our operations look like going forward. So on the one hand, a reduction in the print industry can sort of be, it can seem like a lot of gloom and doom for folks generally, but it actually provides some opportunities for GPO. And we've seen this actually in a couple of cases lately. So, the need for printed documents, certainly on Capitol Hill and a lot of other places, isn't going to go away entirely. But the best way to think of GPO is we are more of a document solutions kind of organization. So if you're if you're working on XPub or you're working on some of our other systems, we're trying to develop solutions that allow us at GPO to produce documents more easily, but also produce solutions that allow our customers to produce documents more easily. And we'll be able to leverage those technologies to sell solutions to our customers that will help them on the content creation side. And that'll help us when we're feeding information into GovInfo or any of the other places where GPO data goes. The other part of that is, though, there are some opportunities as private printing firms are less able to do work for some government agencies, there may be opportunities for GPO to bring that work back into our facilities, whether that's here in the plant or out at our regional facilities in Pueblo or Laurel. And you know, we had one instance where a government agency had worked with customer services to work with an outside vendor that really wasn't delivering for that customer. And while we were able eventually to transition that customer to another contractor, one of the things we were looking at was bringing some of the capacity to produce the documents they required back in-house. And that was a great thought exercise for us, and it helped us develop a capability that we can now offer other customers across the federal government. And that really provides some opportunities for us at GPO. So I think there's going to be a combination of things long term. It's looking at where GPO can step up when private markets or private contractors may not be as available, and how do we develop new kinds of solutions that will represent new revenue opportunities for GPO over the long term.
Okay, thank you, Hugh. So the next question related to that is, are there any plans to reorganize any parts of the agency?
So the short answer is I don't have anything that I'm prepared to announce today. That said, we are always looking at our structure and trying to figure out what makes the most sense. My guess is that there are going to be changes around the edges rather than sort of a wholesale reorg of the organization chart. But you know, we'll be taking a look at all of that as we proceed through our strategic plan. What makes the most sense in how we're organized, who reports to whom, and all of those kinds of things. But you know, my personal view is GPO as an organization looks very similar at the end of the next 5 years as it does today.
Thank you, Hugh. Now we have a two-part question that ties into SUDOCs. So the first part is, what is the future and relevance of the GPO sales program in SUDOCs? And then the second part is, why do superintendent of document employees in the sales program have to move to the Laurel warehouse?
Okay, well, let me take the first part. You know, the sales program is something that we're going to have to continuously look at as we go forward. There obviously is there's still a little bit of a market for that sales program, but you know, we all know that people are in many cases are moving away from physically printed documents. So we need to decide what our sales program going into the future looks like, and can we deliver things on the scale that people are going to be willing to buy them from us in a cost-effective way. And that's going to tie into a lot of things going on across the organization. So for instance, we've got some 97% of government documents are what we call born digital. They start as a digital document. You know, we have the FDLP task force going forward, and they're trying to look at this question of, well, should the FDLP become an all digital program? So, you know, that's going to affect how many printed copies of things we manufacture at GPO, and we're going to have to look at how we do that. Can we continue the sales program in a cost-effective way going forward? And we're going to take a look at that. At the moment, I don't expect any changes. but we're always looking at all of our programs to figure out where can there be efficiencies. Can we continue to provide services at a reasonable cost? And, I can tell you, we are taking a look at our online portal for the sales program, and we're going to invest resources into making that more attractive, easier to use, and all of those things in the near term. And then longer term, it'll obviously depend on how many documents we're providing or we're producing in a tangible fashion, and what those markets look like, and that kind of thing. So let me now move on to the second part. Nobody likes change, and I get that. I don't like change. Really nobody. If you're comfortable doing what you're doing, nobody wants to do something else, and I get that. But the one of the things that we've all got to remember is that, comfortable or not, sometimes we have to make decisions that are in the best interest of the organization. So moving folks out to Laurel to have their facilities in the office on those days that they are in the office, because a lot of them are mostly telework. That's going to save the agency about $800,000 a year. Keep in mind, that's $800,000 that we don't have to then that we can then use to keep the costs of our publications down, to make sure that we've got funds to pay raises and pay bonuses. Those are funds that we can invest in updating spaces, whether that's at Laurel, whether that's here, or anything else. All of those kind of things, all of those kind of investments require that we sharpen our pencils and we take a look at what we're doing, and that doesn't, no division is immune from that, whether it is library services, or the sales program, or the plant, or customer services, or any of the overhead organizations we've got here at GPO. We've all got to do our part to keep that overhead number down and to make sure that we are as efficient as we possibly can. In this particular case, this was something that I think the LSCM management felt pretty confident about. The numbers made sense, and we still think we can deliver a pretty good experience for our teammates and our customers, and still do that in Laurel. So.
Thank you, Hugh. We had a question in chat that I can answer really quick, and that's: in the event an employee contracts COVID due to exposure at work, will the agency continue to provide weather and safety leave? And first of all, I'd like to say we had very, very, very few person-to-person contacts and spreads at GPO. We had a very successful rate of preventing that. And the answer is, as we go into step 3, yes, the current policy is in place. We'll continue on that policy. And if it changes, there will be plenty of notice about that. Hugh, the next question is, are there any plans to have another apprentice program?
So that is a great question. So thank you for that. The short answer is yes, and we are really excited about this. So I think this spring we're going to see a new intern program that we're hoping will bring in a new generation of leaders here at GPO. But we're also looking to expand this to an apprenticeship program as well, to really bring in the kind of workforce we're going to need over the next 5, 10, 20 years. And I know that many folks in our plant and other areas, SID came in under apprenticeship programs, and they really learned a trade, and that was a huge boon to them, and frankly, it's a huge boon to GPO. We want to expand this program to look at our traditional trades. So whether that's, press people or bookbinders, electricians, carpenters, whoever, but also look into new areas as well. So for instance, as we transition to XPub, we're going to need a whole bunch of folks who are competent in XML-based coding. And we would love to expand the apprenticeship program to really draw from places all around the area that can supply folks with those kinds of skills. And I'm a big believer, my wife is a big believer, that you don't need a 4-year college degree to do everything. Give you an idea, my son, he went straight into the Army right after high school, and he's doing really, really well. Similarly, we think that there are some great resources here in our area, whether that's UDC that's right up the street, or it's area high schools where you've got folks who have developed good technical skills. Those folks would be great employees here at GPO, great members of our team. So the short answer is yes, we're very excited about having a new class of apprentices, and I hope we're going to have multiple classes over the next several years.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is actually coming from chat. So we're a year into the new President Biden administration. Will you be staying on for the next 3 years as our director?
So obviously, at the moment, I serve at the pleasure of the president. That said, I don't expect to be going anywhere. From everything I've heard, folks have been fairly happy with the way things have been going at GPO. I know that I enjoy the confidence of the bipartisan, bicameral, congressional oversight folks, and my intention is to stick around for a good long while. So obviously, I can't tell the future, but nobody from the White House has asked me to step down, and I intend to be here for a good long while.
Thank you, Hugh. We have about 5 minutes left, and our next question comes from an SID team member, and the question is, can you give us an update on how the SID 4-day, 10-hour day work week is going?
So, sure. For those who don't know, we shifted our SID teammates over to a 4-day, 10-hour a day work schedule, and initial indications are that it's going pretty well. With any change, there are always little hiccups and that sort of thing. But we are seeing great results from our SID teammates, and have been getting generally good feedback. Now, thing to keep in mind is the State Department has given us a really large order of passports this year. Right now, we are scheduled to manufacture 18 million passports, which is a lot of passports. So the hope is that we're going to be able to stand up another shift in SID to cut down on the need for forced overtime on Fridays. But in the meantime, you may see some of that until we get that shift fully stood up. But our hope is that adding that new shift will give us the capacity to deliver our customers' order on time and at the price that they expect, and do it in a way that makes sense for our team as well. So, you know, the 4-day work week is actually something I think we're going to be seeing a lot more of in the years to come, both in manufacturing settings and in more traditional white collar settings as well. There is a lot of literature out in the business world about the new 4-day work week, giving, you know, working a little bit longer each day and giving folks more contiguous times off so that they can recharge and be ready for the next week. I think you're going to see a lot more of this. I don't have any plans to make this change anyplace else yet, but we'll see how it works out. It may not make sense for all of our operations. For instance, over in plant where we're tied to other folks' schedules, whether that's Congress or the Federal Register. But you know, we're going to look at new innovations wherever we can and figure out what makes sense for our business operations and for our teammates. And I'm actually fairly happy with the way things have been going. Obviously, our management team over at SID are talking with the entire team over there, and we'll make adjustments as we need to. But I think by and large, this is going as expected.
Thank you, Hugh. We have 3 final questions coming from our chat. The first question is, are there any plans for a buyout this year?
I do not have plans for a buyout this year. Frankly, you offer buyouts when you're trying to shrink your workforce. We are trying to expand our workforce. So we have a lot of slots we're trying to hire for. And we don't have enough bodies in those slots just yet. SID is a good example where we don't have enough bookbinders and other folks to stand up that third shift yet. We're working hard to get there, but we aren't there yet. So I don't expect any buyouts on the horizon.
Thank you, Hugh. The next question is, are there plans to reopen the smoke hut? And if there are, when will it reopen?
That's a great question. That is not something I have discussed with our team. First of all, if you smoke, you should stop. It's not healthy. But if you smoke, you need someplace to smoke. And I agree that the plastic chairs by the gate, that's not the best. That's not the best situation. So let me talk to the team and we'll figure out about getting you a better place to smoke, and hopefully that's on your path to quitting. So again, we'll look into that.
Thank you, Hugh. This is our final question. In the facilities update on the 8th floor, the question came in, is there a gym space or is there going to be a gym in that area?
So the short answer is that's not in the current set of plans. I know that the gym had a very checkered past before I got here. And when we were trying to sort of set priorities for what space we need, that really wasn't on our near-term list. I get that that folks like to work out. I work out every day, 3 days or 6 days a week, 3 days at home, 3 days at my gym. But there are other gyms in the area. I know I don't know what their status is with COVID, but there are some close here to GPO. So I think our initial redraw of the 8th floor space is really going to focus on improving that break area and lounge area to make sure that it's comfortable, it's bright, it's modern, and hopefully we can find some better food options for folks. And focusing on those kinds of collaboration spaces that I think are going to be really important as we move forward, where such a large portion of our workforce is going to be teleworking and only coming in on a more sporadic basis. So.
Thank you, Hugh. Unfortunately, we're running out of time. We have a lot more questions in chat. I want to let the audience know that we've captured those questions and we'll be looking at those and responding to all those. Hugh, we thank you for taking these questions and answering them. And I will turn it over to you for any final remarks.
No, I just want to say thank you to everyone. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with y'all. Next time we'll do this in person. I'm really looking forward to the next several months as things start ramping up and we start seeing more of each other. I don't know about you, but I am prepared to move forward with things, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunities that that's going to provide. I know I'm getting a lot busier. I'm sure you are too. And I just want to thank everybody for everything you do for GPO and for each other. So thanks again. I really appreciate this and look forward to talking with everybody soon.